World of Warcraft's next big update is called Midnight, and it's part 2 of a trilogy that started with the War Within. We're starting to get a bit of information on Midnight and its systems, and that includes its new player housing system that looks really cool. I want to talk about what I want to see, what's already been revealed, my hopes for Midnight, and maybe some concerns as well. Let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
Okay, we are going to get right into the story, characters, and the world and systems. But first off, I want to talk about Midnight's biggest feature, because it's been a really long time since I've been excited for a new feature in World of Warcraft. And that's the new player housing system. It's probably the most requested feature of all time. I love the idea of going back to old raids, dungeons, or completing new achievements and challenges to earn furniture to decorate my house with. What if the Lich King could drop his Helm of Domination? That would make a great paperweight on my desk. Or what if you could hang Illidan's Warglaives of Azeroth on your wall? It'd have to be a flameproof wall, of course. What about if I could farm Naxxramas to turn my house into a Scourge Necropolis? Or old Scarlet Crusade dungeons? I really like the idea of a Scarlet Crusade themed base. I would spend so much time farming old content again. Maybe I could even pull out the old crafting system to craft some unique furniture. Midnight is actually set surrounding Quel'Thalas, so maybe there's loads of elf-related housing stuff to earn. If I could build my home anywhere, hands down I'd set up in Outland's Nagrand. But it doesn't look like it's going to work that way. Instead, player housing works in neighbourhoods, where up to 50 houses exist on a server instance. The Alliance have Founders Point, and the Horde have Razorwind Shores. And there's a variety of different themed areas within these neighbourhoods. Sounds like it's quite easy to pack up your house and unpack at new locations. You can set permissions on who can enter your house and even your front garden. Makes me wonder how extensive front gardens are going to be. And there's the Endeavour system, where it sounds like entire neighbourhoods can complete tasks, gathering, crafting, questing, dungeons, raids, and work towards an endeavour, which massively changes the theme of your neighbourhood and unlocks special vendors to buy new furniture. I get the impression doing this also earns you neighbourhood favour, which levels up your house and unlocks more space and furniture options. The way my brain works, it enjoys good progression systems. I just hope it's done right, not too grindy, and I always get annoyed when they make something easier to get once I've already got it. Hey, if you're a huge fan of RPGs as well, consider subbing to Bytes or liking the video for more content like this. Cover lots of RPGs, you might like my Final Fantasy series, where I'm replaying them all and ranking them against each other as I go. Thank you.
Now, let's finish this.
But I've also got some concerns about the player housing, or more specifically the neighbourhood system. I hope it doesn't fall into any of the same traps and problems that Garrisons had. It sounds quite similar to Final Fantasy XIV's player housing, which is great but has huge flaws. I'll talk about my concerns first, then we'll look at how the developers are going to tackle these concerns. For starters, Blizzard say you can quote, buy a house. How much is that going to cost? I remember at the start of Final Fantasy XIV, our entire guild worked together to eventually buy our first medium-sized house. You might be wondering, is this just going to be a ploy to get players to buy WoW tokens? Well, Blizzard have already promised no exorbitant requirements or high purchase costs, no lotteries and no onerous upkeep. Sounds good, but the way they word that, it sounds like there might actually be an upkeep cost, just not an expensive one. And you might be wondering, if I unsubscribe from the game or take a break till the next patch, will I lose my housing plot, or my house? Because again, that's how Final Fantasy XIV works. I've lost my really valuable house just because I took a break from the game. Well, Blizzard have officially said if your subscription lapses, don't worry, your house doesn't get repossessed. So Blizzard have kind of addressed some of the big concerns already, and that's something I appreciate. I think if player housing is a massive success, this will be a core part of World of Warcraft that's updated over time with new furniture, features, and I predict even more types of neighbourhoods, like entirely new neighbourhood locations. I think there's so many ideas you could implement in the future to expand on player housing. Big guild houses with things like dueling arenas or pet battle arenas, stables for your mounts and pets, group crafting projects, mannequins to put your armor sets on. I think there's endless potential. Maybe if I can get enough friends to play Midnight, we could charter a neighbourhood. I'd love to get some Mythic Plus going with friends as well. But I really like that this new system promotes community and guild play. Damn, am I gonna have to join a guild? I haven't raided as a guild since the death of the Lich King. I've been a solo pickup group player since then. Well, at least in World of Warcraft, and it's not the best experience. And I was thinking, maybe these new homes are tied to the story. What if something happens that requires us to find a new home? What if the Void destroys our main cities, Stormwind and Orgrimmar? I don't think it will happen, we've already just lost Dalaran, but based on some artwork, if anything, it looks like it might be Silvermoon City that might be getting destroyed. But I think it was a cool idea, it would really help set up the Void as a real threat, and we could eventually work on rebuilding these cities with better modern visuals later down the line. And moving away from player housing, I want to see better storytelling and character writing in Midnight. I admit the War Within started really strong with Xalatav destroying Dalaran and setting up the expansion. Then the main story kind of fizzled out, and in the latest patch we're now working alongside that same Xalatav, who's obviously going to betray us.
We cannot trust her!
And I just feel this is so stupid. I think we're stupid for working with her or using her, and I think she's stupid to even try this. Maybe they are making it so obvious that she's going to betray us to pull a massive twist, but I doubt it. Even if we're aware of her inevitable betrayal, I think it's cringy writing and stupid.
You broke my dark heart.
Midnight's opening cinematic really needs to turn up the heat. The War Within cinematic was all about Anduin talking about his feelings. It wasn't incredibly exciting. I've just realised Sargeras' sword was the big thing in that cinematic, and it wasn't really in the expansion at all.
But that sword was aimed at someone.
But Midnight is the middle part of this trilogy. We need to crank up the heat. We need some action. I think this would be a good opportunity to showcase the power of the Void. We've had orc invasions that kickstarted Warcraft, the apocalyptic scourge, and the demonic forces of the Burning Legion who have conquered thousands of worlds. These three forces make up the best bits of Warcraft. And I know the Void are a worthy threat, but I need convinced in-game. These are supposed to be the guys the Burning Legion feared. Speaking of the Burning Legion, the Burning Crusade is my favourite part of World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King a close second. And Midnight promises to return to the old world, the fabled lands of Quel'Thalas. I'm very nostalgic about these areas, love the Blood Elf regions and architecture, lots of memories. We don't know exactly which zones we'll be revisiting, the Sunwell was mentioned, but I'd love it if modern Silvermoon City becomes our main city hub in Midnight. Well, that is if it's not completely destroyed. Midnight is the perfect opportunity to return to some of the best bits of the Burning Crusade. I'm excited. The War Within added a major new system, hero talents. And honestly, it was a mixed bag. I'd play my Death Knight and was blown away by how awesome it was, being able to summon the Horsemen of Apocalypse. But then I'd play my main, my Hunter, and the hero talents were kind of awful. Instead of fulfilling any kind of fantasy of a Dark Ranger, I got the crappy skill Black Arrow back, which is a really boring old skill that was removed from the game at some point. Yeah, thanks a lot for giving me that back. Midnight expansion is the time to either extend on these hero talents, which I think is the most likely to happen, or possibly add entirely new hero specializations. Hopefully my Hunter hero talents become a bit more exciting. And I've got some more ridiculous stuff on my wish list. These things aren't going to happen, but it's fun to talk about anyway. Maybe it's just me, I really enjoyed Wintergrasp in Wrath of the Lich King. A huge player versus player siege battle, Horde versus Alliance, and whoever won held Wintergrasp Fortress and access to an easy raid with decent loot. I'd love to see something like that again. I think that was World PvP at its most fun, which was very chaotic. But it was so crazy the servers would have trouble handling it. And then Blizzard decided to make the queue to join Wintergrasp no longer a queue, and it would just pick people at random places in the queue to join the battle. That was terrible. But these days there's not so much war in Warcraft. There's peace between the Horde and Alliance. Warcraft is a little bit too peaceful and friendly for my liking. I'd love it if Midnight changed that up, even if it was just the Void feeling like a real threat to the world. I think with player housing, this would be the perfect opportunity to add new gathering and crafting skills. Something like woodcutting and carpentry or woodworking. They had a light version of this in Warlords of Draenor. You could go around and gather special trees. If they added new skills like this, I'd probably spend 100 hours just gathering, crafting, skilling up, and this new crafting skill would have loads of new stuff for my new house. Not gonna happen though. 19th of August we're gonna get a truckload of new Midnight information as well as the opening cinematic. So fingers crossed with that, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be covering World of Warcraft's latest patch, Ghost of Koresh, and within the same realm of MMORPGs, I'll be looking at Final Fantasy XIV's next big update as well. Alright, have a good one.